Welcome back to Wired to Run. Will and I are so excited for this conversation today because running has a way of bringing everything to the surface. Our confidence, our fears, definitely the way we handle pressure, and the way we talk to ourselves when things get hard on a run or goals start slipping or things just really don't go the way we planned. And for runners with ADHD, those moments can get pretty loud pretty fast. I know for me, one missed workout can kind of feel like I've lost all momentum. So today, we're going beyond training the body. We're talking about how to train the mind behind the miles. And we have an incredible guest joining us today for this conversation. Jacqueline Kelly is the founder of Kelly Performance and Wellness. She's a former NCAA basketball player, a registered psychotherapist, certified mental performance consultant, certified strength and conditioning specialist, and a personal trainer with more than 20 years of experience. She's worked with everyone from Big Ten football teams, soccer players, professional golfers, to cyclists, executives, students, and everyday people who want to become stronger both mentally and physically. What makes her work so powerful is that she doesn't separate performance from mental health. She brings it all together to help people handle pressure, work through setbacks, and strengthen their self talk, and perform more consistently without believing they just have to push harder. So we have so much to get into today, and we're genuinely excited to have her here. Jacqueline, welcome to Wired to Run.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
This is such a treat to have her here. I'm actually fangirling right now having her on the show. You have such a unique background. You've experienced performance from so many different angles. So take us back a little. How did all of those pieces come together? And what led you to create an approach that trains both the mind and body?
Think I get asked this question a lot, and I should rehearse my answer better, I think. But I think it started for me. I grew up just playing every sport that I could play, and ended up played a lot of softball and basketball, and I injured a lot, and I really enjoyed playing, but the day before the game or right before the game, I was getting sick to my stomach because I wasn't good enough, and right, I didn't understand how we could be doing something that I enjoyed so much and then be so miserable, I think is where it started, and then the journey goes on to many things, right? The strength and conditioning, the tactical strength and conditioning, the mental performance, sports hypnosis, working with the military, um working now with the women's professional soccer team in
Mm.
Boston. So, yeah, it's been a long journey, but all the pieces do fit together. And I have a book coming out in September called "Becoming Unfragile," and I hope I don't know if that sums up the whole message or if I'm just getting started. Actually,
I can't tell you how excited I am. Your book, It's All in the Mind. Oh my goodness. It's incredible about the self-talk, positive self-talk. Amazing. That's why I'm fangirling right now. But you're such a force of nature. Um, Getting into the psyche of the athlete and completely revamping the way that they see things and the capability to believe what you never thought you could do. It's just incredible. Completely in awe of how you can transform minds.
well, thank you. Yeah, I think we're here to command our brains and not listen to them. Right? Don't listen to what you're hearing. Talk back to your brain. So I wish we taught that very right out of the beginning to our children and in our schools, and hopefully we can start doing that because I think it opens up the possibilities for people for sure.
Absolutely.
I completely agree with that. So when we talk about mental performance, what does that exactly mean?
Mm. I think if we I think most of us know what strength training is, right? That you're literally setting a goal and trying to get your muscles or body stronger to compete at a certain level, to get the ball in the basket or whatever. And I think it's the same thing with the mind. We have to prepare our minds to remove whatever roadblocks would get in our way. We have to do reps, and those reps may be different for everybody, but self talk reps or calming ourselves, right? Having a handle on our emotional regulation if we tend to run really high. Um, for people with ADHD, I think it's an attention and a focus and doing many reps there and having systems in place to go back to those reps. So I think it's very similar and we can talk about it like strength training, but obviously for the
Yeah,
brain.
I do think that a lot of people don't really think about it that way. They just go out the door and start running. They really don't think about the mental side of it, you know?
Yeah, I think we need to prepare both. Equal, if not more, right? You hear people say that golf is 90% mental or whatever. I don't know if we can put percentages on
Mhm.
things, but I know personally speaking, and most of the people that I work with need to be doing as much mental training as they do physical training for sure.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
interesting because, with the runner, there's, when you're running, when you're training, the thoughts, the emotions, confidence, a lot of that may affect the physical performance. Do you find that to be true not only in running but other sports, and how does that affect the physical performance?
Yeah, right, like if you're already telling yourself that you're too tired or your legs are too heavy or the finish line is too far away, you have more muscle tension. Um, cognitively, as soon as your heart rate starts to raise, your brain starts to leak, we
Mhm.
say, right? So you start out maybe really strong, talking really good to yourself, but as the miles go on, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a practiced endurance, those sneaky sort of mean thoughts are creeping in and it can affect your heart rate, your like I said, the tension in your muscles. We can start to have some pains that maybe we wouldn't if we were running more freely in our mind, if we had a real plan.
It can
Yeah.
spiral pretty quickly. I did that during my marathon. At the end, my heart rate started increasing. I could feel the tension that probably wouldn't have been there if I didn't let my mind run away from me, so I get that.
Yes.
So, kind of
Yeah.
going on that same theme, how does someone start training the mind, especially if it's something like your first marathon? If you haven't actually been in that situation before, what kind of steps could they use to prepare for that challenge?
I, with technology now, you can probably go online and plot your plan along every course by looking at it on the computer. Um, so I think that is so helpful now because you literally could have a plan, a power word or a mantra or a thought pattern that you can commit to for some people maybe it's steps, for some people maybe it's miles, right? Maybe you can keep the same thought pattern going for a couple of miles. Other people, like I said, maybe shorter periods of time, but preparing mentally, starting, I believe your mental preparation probably should start even before or at least equally along with whatever program you decide to use, right? If you're looking up online and following someone's program for marathon training, we need a mental training program along with it for sure.
I'm talk with friends that have done long distance running, and we really don't go that deep. And then it's too late when we're way into the training and we're kind of backtracking, going, "We should have gone there a lot earlier." So it's interesting that you bring that up. That it has to start a lot earlier in the process.
That's for sure.
Now, working with different types of athletes, are there certain mental challenges that seem to come up over and over again?
Mm, I think out of all, I would group all of them. I think all sports, all ages, military, professional athletes is probably self-talk and emotional regulation for sure, right? Like we're all good until we're not,
Yeah.
right? So we have to have a plan for not, right?
Mhm.
Because not's happening, right? Like obviously, the analogy of, road rage, someone pulling out in front of you, right? You're
Mhm.
listening to your favorite song, singing along, and everything's good. So having a plan, being able to practice for when we're not, I think is really important.
Yeah. From a mental performance perspective, what's happening when someone knows what they want to do, but still struggles to begin.
We could certainly group that in, goal setting.
Mhm,
Maybe the goal,
mhm,
the process of setting those goals had some flaws,
mhm.
so we could make that better, but usually there for most of us, there's that piece where we either don't think that we're good enough, we don't deserve whatever is at the end of the rainbow kind of thing. So I think that again, back to that self-talk and that self-belief, right? You were all of a sudden dropped off on an island and you tell yourself that you can do it or you tell yourself you can't, what's most likely going to happen, right? So
Right.
I think there has to be some level of self-belief and I think all of us have it, even in our darkest days, but remembering to rely on it is a completely different skill.
You're so right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned goal setting, which I think is very important. And I think, again, it's something that isn't really taught much. Um, what are some steps to ensure that the goal that you're setting is a goal that you actually want and maybe not a goal that someone's pushed upon you? And do you also feel that a goal should be something that's attainable? Should it be kind of a push goal? Where do you fall in line with that?
Can I say all of the above?
Yes.
Yes.
Um, right, I think, we can have silly goals where, today my only goal is to get the laundry done or to wipe the kitchen counters, and then we can have really lofty push goals where, we've got a picture of a yacht that we're getting to, whether we wanna own it or vacation on it. I think there is a realm of all of those things, and if you are practicing goal setting for the little things, it's easier for the big things. Um, what you were mentioning before is sort of intrinsic and extrinsic goals, right? Like if we have some internal reward, but I do think it is something we need to talk about more, and get better at. It, I think there are so many different goal setting things out there, right? There's SMART goals and WHOOP goals, and
Mhm.
I think the most research is about having something that is measurable and does have a time, right? There is an end date to it. And then I think the rest of it can be more specific to what works for you, how your brain works, and what will be the most motivating.
Is there a danger to having too many goals in that there's you're struggling to kind of pinpoint where to start first, or you you have so many goals that it's almost impossible to kind of hone into the top 3? Do you ever find that your clients have too many, they wanna hit them all, and then they get overwhelmed? Because I know a lot
Yeah,
of
for sure.
ADHDers do that.
Yes, for sure, right? Like, I think there are definitely people, again, that probably don't have enough goals, and then there are people that have too many. So I think finding someone or, a book, an app, or whatever that can direct you in those conversations is really important. But yeah, starting out with one, if that is accomplishing that and seeing the process in which that, right, you've found something that you really desire, you put an end date to it, and then you backtracked for the process of how you're going to handle that. One of the most interesting things about goal setting is that you have to sort of go into it believing that it's gonna be hard,
Mm,
and you're more likely to accomplish it, right? Like, if I said, when you and I talked about this, just my Disney marathon, if I would've went
mhm,
into it thinking that it would have been easy, I would have probably quit or been so
mm,
disappointed when it got so hard, where I was training in the winter in Colorado. So when it was my 12-mile day, my 17-mile day, whatever it was, the program that I was on, it took my entire family. I would go out, right? I would have shoes and socks on, certain amount of clothing, then maybe it'd warm up a little bit and they'd have to meet me on a certain mile so I could take a few of those clothes off, right?
mhm.
It was a big deal, but so knowing and possibly preparing my family for how difficult it was going to be to accomplish that, um, makes it more. So I think that's a really important thing for people to understand. Yeah.
That is incredible. I've never thought of it that way, that if you accept that it's difficult, there's more likelihood that you'll accomplish it because you've already accepted that it's gonna be your mountain that you're gonna have to climb. Because if it's too easy, you've kinda given up already. "Well, I haven't accomplished it yet, so then forget about it." So,
Yeah, yeah,
wow.
and right, and then maybe there's a little more glory at the
Yes.
at the top of the mountain too. Yeah, that you
Definitely.
accomplish it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because marathoners like to, talk about how such a small percentage of the population has
Yes.
ever completed a marathon. So I think in the runner's mind, I think we almost kind of accept that it's going to be hard. I've said this in previous episodes that you play basketball, you play baseball, you play football, you play hockey, but you don't really play running. Running is more of the exercise to get you prepared for the other sports. So we already kind of come into running knowing that it's going to be difficult. So it's very interesting to think like those really difficult goals are the ones we tend to stick to.
Mhm.
Whereas if it's an easy goal, it's also easier for us to kind of brush it off.
Mhm.
Yeah, 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 and then feel like a failure or like that we can't exceed, right? If we're not mastering the smaller ones, how are we gonna master the bigger ones? But yeah,
Yeah,
just a little reframing and a mind shift there.
Yeah.
exactly. We've got a lot of ADHD runners listening, a lot of non-HD ADHD, runners as well. There is a gap between wanting to do something and actually being able to do it or even initiate it. How can ADHD runners make the process of starting a run feel less overwhelming?
I am definitely not, the person that says, one way fits all. So
Mm,
I don't think we can group every ADHD runner into what I'm going to say. I do think it is very specific for everybody, but I think the basis of figuring out, well, first of all, that self belief that I talked about, and whatever foundation that you have for that, that you make that foundation stronger with or without ADHD, I am completely capable of accomplishing whatever it is that I want to accomplish, having that foundation. And then whatever skills that are your roadblocks. So if it is emotional regulation or focus or all of the above, right? That you have a specific skill to work on that, whether it is a specific breathing exercise that allows you to takes you back, right? And gets you out of your head and into your body very quickly so that we can stop the madness I say from going on, right? And listening to that, having a very powerful power word or mantra, and you shift back to those things, and then you go back to sitting and thinking about what your goals are. Again, it becomes very overwhelming, too hard to put one foot in front of the other. Which one of those things, the power word, the mantra, the breath, um, getting again out of your brain, shifting
mhm.
into your body and back and forth. But I think you have to understand that that's very difficult and it might take you so much longer than
Yeah.
it would take someone else, right? So I sit down to do a goal and I say, okay, I'm all set. And you guys are like, woo,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a few more minutes, right?
Yeah.
And back and forth. There's some level of frustration, I would imagine, that
Mhm.
occurs also. So then we're back to that emotional regulation. So I think it's a set of skills, and I hope I
Mhm.
answered that question. But
Absolutely. And you shared you have worked with athletes that have ADHD. How do you teach them to be more patient and, show self-compassion, to give them grace to get there?
it's so many conversations back to that self-belief. I think, with our mental health, with ADHD, we've tried to put people into this box of they're just unwell.
Mhm.
Um, and so getting them out of that box and it's just different, right?
Yeah.
It's just different. It's not right or wrong. There's no judgment to it. What skills um, you need, what skills Will needs, what skills I need are just different, and it
Mhm.
doesn't come with a diagnosis,
Yeah.
right?
Makes
Yeah.
sense. One of the areas you focus heavily on is self-talk, and I think that's where so many runners just in general, unintentionally, it works against them. A difficult run can quickly become, "I'm not good at this. What the heck am I doing? Why am I even out here?" I never follow through, or maybe I'm just not really a runner. How can runners begin noticing negative self talk when it's become so automatic that they don't even recognize it anymore?
So, understanding that you have thousands of thoughts a day, everybody does, and most of them are on repeat. So, I think starting with the skill of trying to one day at a time recognize those repeating thoughts would be the best place to start, right? We can't change everything overnight, but due to the negativity bias, we hear the negative more than we hear the positive, right?
Mhm.
So our brain does the same thing. But if I'm asking you to go to the gym and lift reps over and over so that you're squatting so your legs get stronger, so you're a better runner, we've got to do the same thing with your brain. So you
Mhm.
recognize those patterns and then
Mm.
we work on switching it. And thanks to the late Trevor Moad, a mental performance coach, he told us that the words do not have to be positive. They can be neutral also. So then you
Mm.
change the language, right? We're not going from I'm not good enough to wow, I'm the best runner ever. Where can we meet somewhere in the middle that maybe is slightly more acceptable to our brain after we have been beating ourselves up for so many years or so many runs, right? So difficult from terrible to amazing. So where can we find ourselves in the middle that we can start to believe and shift those patterns, right? We're not in control of those patterns, but we are in control of recognizing them and changing those through our own self-talk or those mantras, those stories, the stories that we tell ourselves.
That's a great strategy, moving it to a neutral, self-talk, because you feel like you're lying to yourself. That was actually going
Mhm.
into another question, because the next question was, because you feel like you're kind of you're it's lip service, to kind of go into "Oh, everything's wonderful, and I'm a great runner, and I'm faster." Like, "No, I'm a turtle." Like I'm very slow. I'm the back of the packer, and you know what your reality is, finding that middle ground of going, "I'm a solid runner. I'm committed," and going to something that's a little bit more neutral rather than, "I'm a fast runner," because you don't feel fast, things like that. So, I like that, bringing something from the negative, bringing that dial more to the middle rather than going the total opposite direction, because then you kind of feel like you aren't lying to yourself or trying to fully convince your 30 some years or 40 some years of thinking a certain way and going the opposite direction. It's easier for your mind to get to the middle.
Yes. Well, I shared with you that I was running my Disney marathon while I
Mhm.
was adopting my sons,
Yes.
from Haiti in 2010, and I had gone to Haiti and saw things
Mm.
that I can't unsee, and saw how unwell the boys that I was going to adopt were, and I came home, right, and how right, I came back home to 9 TVs, right? I don't know, right? Like, just ridiculousness compared to them not having shoes or food or anything, and really struggled with my own mental health after that and decided with a friend to run the Disney Marathon to have something to really focus on, and I caught myself doing the same thing. It was hard to put one foot in front of the other because I was the worst person on the planet. How could we
Mm.
have 2 million children that were starving in Haiti, and I'd never even known anything about it? So I started with the first mile. The only thing that I could talk to myself about was all the things that I was grateful for.
Mm.
Mm.
And then the second mile, it was whatever I could see while I was running that I thought was beautiful. And then the third mile, and I had a rule for every mile. When I couldn't do it anymore, it was AC/DC that I could listen to. But
Mm.
as soon as I had had enough of that, then I could shut that off and go back and I would start over for what I was grateful for. So, I wasn't in a place where I could tell myself good things, but I could
Mhm.
always be grateful. So, I think it
Speak
worked
right.
for me. I don't know if it works for everybody, but, right, you're beating yourself up. You can't tell yourself you're not a turtle right now,
Mm.
but you
Mm.
can tell yourself what you're grateful for, and most
Yeah.
of us have a very long list, and if it was a day where I didn't feel like I was grateful for things, I went through the ABCs and came up with a word for, that it was a great trick, and I used it for all of that training, especially when it was snowing and freezing and icy out during my training, yes.
It's gotta be
Yeah,
hard. Wow.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that because I think
Mm.
that so many of us struggle with that, not only inner races, but everyday life, whether it's a job that you are unhappy in, or you have a health condition, or someone in your life is sick, you're going through something difficult. There's always something to be grateful for. You can get up and you wake up, your heart's beating, and you have breath in your lungs. That's something to be grateful for. So,
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
um, so that's a great reminder.
Mm.
What would you say to someone who believes that being hard on themselves is the only reason they have ever accomplished anything? Those are the people who are just hard on themselves, beat themselves up, just feel like the discipline is the only way.
I think I would ask them if they could try it a different way, right? I think there are I like that, right? Like, you're in the gym and you wanna squat the heaviest squat you've ever squatted, you might have to be saying some ugly words to yourself, right? You might have to call yourself a baby or for I won't repeat all the nasty words that maybe I've had to say, so I think there's glimpses of it,
Mhm.
that motivate us,
Mhm.
but a history of it is too heavy, right? It's
Yeah.
way too heavy, and the most likely, the talk that you're telling yourself, when you failed, because we all fail, right, would be that you're not good enough, and to get away from that would be so empowering, and I think you could even find some happiness in the failing then.
Wow, that's really
Mm.
good. Happiness in the failing. There's beauty in
Yeah.
failure in some ways.
Yeah, be right, we 'cause we do I mean, I hate I say it all the time, but I hate it personally. I we do learn more when we fail, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I hope that I get to live to the day that we figure out how that's not true, but I haven't figured it out yet. But there still is beauty in the failing when you look back. Maybe not when you're standing in it, but when you look back, there is.
You definitely see your strength in those times. I know I've pulled myself off the road or the trail when I've hit my lowest points in my training and I wanna quit and I feel the weakest. I look back and I really see my resilience, and there's something really beautiful about it because I didn't quit in those dark times when I was going through cancer, and I really struggled during that time, and, my kids really I wanted to be around for them, and I was you don't wanna think about what could happen if you have surgery and, what, cancer the outcome with cancer and things like that, and your mind goes there. It's a dark time. It might not be failure, but it's a dark place. But when you look back and see the other side of it and how far you've come with your health and things like that, you see the beauty in that journey, and it makes you grateful for it. So, you do see that kind of ebb and flow of life, so you're right, whether it's failure or going through some really difficult times, for sure.
You're a very good example of, the word that I have trademarked, unfragile, right?
Oh,
You have proven through your life's experiences that you are unfragile. You know, it's an honor to meet you. Now I'm the fangirl.
oh, thank you. I'm honored. I can't wait to talk about Fragile. Definitely wanna get to that 'cause, I was really excited about that when I was learning all about that, so and I definitely wanna talk about that book, so you had some questions about focus and distraction.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
So another challenge that those with ADHD have is with focus. Running can be incredibly regulating, but during long runs or races, the mind can also wander. We become unfocused. Um, you know, Especially if there's discomfort or if we're calculating how much farther we have to go for the race or for the training run.
Mm.
Um, is strong focus really the ability to never become distracted, or is it being distracted but then being able to recenter?
Yeah, definitely to focus in on something, have that goal that we talked about, and then we lose focus and being able to come back. And I think the best way to train that again is with the breath, right? Whether you're doing box breathing or, 6, 7, 4, 7, 8 breath. diaphragmatic breathing, if you can get back to the breath, remind yourself what it was that you were trying to focus on, stay for as long in that focus period as you can, go back to the breath. You just have to have the skill to be able to shift. And for everybody, it won't be the breath, right? With the soccer team, it's not always the breath. They're running as fast as they can. Their heart rates are so high. Maybe it's squeezing their fists or feeling their feet inside their boots. Um, for most of us, training the breath, though, allows us to focus longer the longer we can train the breath or be reminded of it, right? Where can you do it in the shower? Can you do it while you're driving in the car? You know, where are places in your life that you can practice that focus and that breath?
Mm.
But yeah.
I was gonna ask, you're in Boston right now. How are the strategies different that you're teaching them versus some of your other clients, like in golfing or, some of the runners or, some of the students or executives you've taught? Are they mainly the
Yeah,
same type of strategies or do they vary?
they definitely vary based on the type of activity, right? Like, if it was an executive getting ready to present something really big where, I don't know, maybe they were getting a promotion or losing a promotion, right? Such high stakes is similar to a higher stake performance where like a downhill skier or somebody who could really hurt themselves.
Mm,
Obviously, you can get hurt golfing and playing soccer, but a little bit different in the risk category.
mhm.
Um, so I think the skills accommodate the type of activity, but they all are very similar. Yes.
The
Attentional
same.
focus, emotional regulation. Yeah. Focus, maybe more focus in, um, like I said, downhill skiing
Mhm.
and more being able to scan in soccer. Right.
That's a really great point, yeah. Especially with World Cup going on. I'm sure you
Yes.
you see a lot of that watching the World Cup right now, so
Yes,
across the
yes.
field, yeah.
That's been so fun, yes. Mhm.
You mentioned, emotional regulation a lot because a lot of us with ADHD, emotional regulation hits home. Those feelings of intensity are so great. Um, what are some strategies outside of some of the breath work that people can work on when they're in training when you're running as hard as let's just say a soccer player and you're doing speed work and you're feeling that overwhelm and you can't really work on your breath work? You mentioned feeling your feet in your shoes, things like that. What are some other ways that they can kind of ground themselves when they're feeling that emotional overwhelm getting out of control?
Let me just say first, I think it has to be something that you wanna control.
Hmm.
Right, with some of my younger athletes, they think that it is okay to be that angry. I don't know, it's just something that no one's ever told them that they shouldn't do, or if they're mimicking a parent or a coach, right? So I think first it has to be something that you want to change, that you recognize that needs to be changed, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna age myself completely, but I remember when I played basketball in college, Bobby Knight was so famous,
Mhm.
and he threw the chairs, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Yeah.
Um, and who's the tennis player? McEnroe? That
McEnroe,
Yes.
yep.
Yeah.
that threw his racket, right? Like, like, I don't did they wanna act that way? And they just never, like, they just thought it was okay. So I think we still do have a lot of that,
Mhm.
where you just have this ability to make so many excuses for yourself. So I think
Mhm.
there is a level of what I would say very much so let me just back up for a second. When in my program and when you work with me, we talk about awareness first and then preparation and then effort and then attitude and what all of those things mean. So I think there has to be some level of awareness first, and then we would use any of those skills that we've already mentioned, right? The
Mhm.
the squeezing of the hands, tensing the muscles, feeling your feet, and if you can take a breath. For some people, it's just shifting their focus. So
Mhm.
some players will go on the field and they will get a focal point before the game even
Mhm.
starts, and then they'll shift back to that focal point. But again, I think we have to have an awareness of that.
Yes.
Mhm.
That might not be a great idea, not only for the other people around you, but it might not. make you can you just imagine how successful Bobby Knight or
Oh
Mhm.
my
McEnroe could have been if they would have been in
yeah,
control of themselves? How much further
Sure.
could they have gone?
absolutely. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it's funny that you mentioned that because you can kind of tell the amount of self regulations that someone has because growing up you always hear about, oh, they play with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because when I think of like two people that kind of played with a chip on their shoulder, I kind of think of Michael Jordan, who they always said, would come up with ways to motivate himself. Like he would invent things to make him play harder. And then you've got someone like Tom Brady, who was such a low draft pick. And, they said throughout his career, he played with a chip on his shoulder. But you make a great point where you know, it might be kind of like that motivating thing to start, but you've got to be able to shift your focus to really what you need to do and not play angrily.
Mhm,
You still have to have that focus. So that's
mhm,
I love that you brought that up.
mhm. I wanted to share a little bit about imagination and creativity when it comes to folks like us with ADHD. We we always hear about the negativity and some of the things that we struggle with, but I speak from experience. One of the key skills with ADHD that I have that has, I would say, helped me achieve my goals is visualization. Um, I have a wild imagination. My family's always told me since I was a little girl, "Wow, you have a crazy imagination." Like, even when I had dreams, like, I would have long, long stories and things like that. Um, it's been a blessing because when I would accomplish anything, whether it was something in my career, positions in leadership and things like that, um, I would imagine myself in that role. Or when I was training for my first marathon, when I was training for the Dopey Challenge, the 48.6, I imagined what I was wearing, what it felt like, where I was on the course. I visualized every single element in my training when I was looking at my training calendar when Coach Twiggs gave me my calendar. I pictured everything down to a T, mapped everything in my head, and I truly believe that the things that I have accomplished in my life is because I have visualized it already happening. And I credit it to having a wild imagination, creative mind with the ADHD because we are very innovative and you're the same way, very creative, lots of new ideas. So can you talk about how that can influence performance?
Yeah, well, so I have a puppy doing Zoomers right now, sorry.
Oh, you're
That's all good.
Oh my gosh.
that's okay.
I
I hear the
I took
squeaky
him
toy.
for
It's
yes,
okay.
took her
Oh,
for a big walk before, but she is
oh,
sorry.
no,
Um,
that's okay.
so what a gift, right? Not everybody can visualize. I think we can teach everybody to visualize, but not in that great of detail.
Mhm,
So what an immense gift to be able to use it for everything. You basically are commanding your brain to see every detail allows you to have that focus and attention that other people can then not have,
mhm,
but your brain doesn't know that it's not real. So there are lots of success stories where people visualized an event and
mhm,
them doing it and were able to didn't train at all and were very successful. I
yeah,
had an instance too. I When I lived and was Papa John's personal trainer in Louisville, Kentucky, we would run the races before the Derby. So the first race a few weeks
mhm,
out was a 5K, then a 10K, then a half marathon. And I got injured. So I visualized the races because I had done the courses many times. When I got to the half marathon, I hadn't ran at all. I had only swam, and I took 3 minutes off my best time ever.
my
So I
Wow.
goodness,
your body can your brain doesn't know that you're not doing the activity. So yeah, it's just huge and huge in your goal setting, right? You're able to see what you want so much better than people who don't visualize. So yeah,
incredible.
that is, that's a gift for sure.
That's awesome. I know it can go the opposite way too if you're not careful too, because you can catastrophize
Yes.
a lot too as well.
Yes.
I
But
try not to do that. But
but kind of going off what she was saying, because especially in a race, or any sort of training run, I mean, you could be going 3 miles, 12 miles, 20 miles. Um, is there any benefit of maybe visualizing what could go wrong and then coming up with a strategy for if that were to happen?
That's a good question. Yeah.
We actually teach that practice called if then. So
Okay.
Mm.
that's exactly right. We do that a lot with golfers, right? You're visualizing the hole. You can see it on the computer. You've played it before. You know exactly where you want your first ball to go, your second, but it doesn't. So then if then, what is your strategy? I think we do have to be careful to not go down that rabbit hole. For sure, like you said, the catastrophizing. But
Mhm.
yes, it's a wonderful skill, and we do it in soccer, right? If
Mhm.
we've made a mistake, if then, what is it that we're going to do? Recenter ourselves, or are we gonna go 90 miles an hour and, tackle the girl from behind and get a yellow card, right? That doesn't work so good. So having those strategies is huge. Yep.
That's
Because
true.
we've already discussed that failure is most likely going to happen to us at some
Yeah,
point. So let's have a plan.
that's true. What's the thing you had told your uh
Yeah, I always say that. I always say with Laura that she'll come up with a goal and she achieves it. And I always say, if she decided that she wanted to fly by sprouting wings out of her back, somehow she'd make it happen.
it's a lot of it's visualization. You can't just visualize it to happen and not put the effort in. And I think that's the thing, you have to marry the visualization with the effort, and that's what you're talking about, Jacqueline. You have to work towards it, you give it your everything. Failure is not an option. And that's the thing, when the marathon came along, I never wanted to do a marathon in my entire life. And then when I had cancer a third time, I thought, you know what? I'm going to show cancer who's boss, and I'm going to run a marathon. And I was like, who said that? like, I know. Wait a second. I couldn't believe that I actually, agreed that I was going to do a marathon. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to do the Doki challenge. And failure was not an option. I would drag myself across those finish lines. And after that, you keep topping yourself, because it's like, "Okay, if I did that, I know I can do anything." So, it's all about that, the work, the visualization, putting the effort in. So, I love that about your program. It's just
Mhm.
incredible. So,
Well, thank you.
it's
Yeah,
amazing.
we get one chance at this, I think, and if we're gonna keep running all those miles and coming up with what we're grateful for, we need to keep accomplishing some things, I think. Yeah.
Definitely. So, we run into, like, performance anxiety and race day nerves, especially as a Run Disney runner, marathoner, we gotta get up really early, and we're sitting in those corrals for a long time. It's not like we wake up and go to the starting line a lot of these races and you're off. We can spend a lot of time stewing in our thoughts with our anxiety. What is the difference between helpful excitement and anxiety that begins to interfere with performance?
When that anxiety gets high enough that you already created some muscle tension. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, good.
That's a
Well,
puppy.
it's a squeaky toy we've never even played with.
It's okay.
She's like,
I
"Could you quit
guarantee you
talking?"
a lot of our Wired family have puppies, so it's all good.
Okay, let me try to answer the question now, though. So now she's biting me, so we'll see if that lasts. Um, when the anxiety gets so high that you are already right, your heart rate is up and the muscle tension, you're not going to start you're going to start the race tired, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I think there can be some level of excitement. You're there, you're probably with some friends, right? It's
Yeah.
pretty early. I remember standing there for such a long time and trying to figure out where I was gonna go pee with that no one could see me. So
Yes. Yes, the porta potties are so far away. Yeah.
yes,
Stepping over
um,
all the people in the corral, yeah.
yes, but so knowing if that's the type of person that you are, you have to have the plans and one or all of the plans that we've talked about so far, right?
Yeah.
Um, I managed it pretty good with the gratitude and the music.
Mhm.
Um, but definitely you feel the anxiety. I think one of the biggest things that we can do is just reframe it, right? You talk to yourself and you say, "Okay, I feel it. I recognize it. I'm excited to be here, right? If we keep it neutral or positive and don't allow it to be a negative thing where we're saying, "Oh, I'm wasting all my
Mhm.
energy already being nervous here," or those types of
Mhm.
things. So I think practicing through all of the miles that you have to practice to, get to that race, hopefully you've practiced those types of things, being able to reframe what
Mm.
you're saying to yourself so that you can regulate your emotions.
That's a great suggestion. Those final minutes, just kind of acknowledging that you feel that way and then keeping it neutral or positive. That's excellent. I'm going
Yeah.
to use that. We had talked prior to recording about one of the reasons we started the podcast was because being neurodivergent runners kind of feel like we don't belong a lot of times and don't always fit in with the rest of the running crowd or running clubs and things like that. What can a runner say to themselves when they begin questioning whether they belong on the race course or with a run club? How do we get out of those mental loops of not belonging?
Hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I certainly have felt it in certain cases myself, and I wonder if we don't put too much emphasis on belonging to begin with, right? Um, so I think a shift there, but then also by being vulnerable enough and saying that out loud, and
Mhm.
now having this podcast, I bet you belong more than you've ever belonged in your life. So
Yes.
so you
Yeah.
solved that problem so much, right? Now maybe the
Yeah.
feeling doesn't go away, but the feelings aren't facts,
Yeah.
right? So the fact now is, like I said, you probably belong more than you've ever
Yeah.
belonged. So acknowledge the feelings and really try to leave the judgment and be so proud of yourself for where you've come, that you were vulnerable, said it out loud to someone, and then found those people that you did belong with, right?
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Oh, and trying to find your tribe. We always talk about finding your tribe and everybody belonging and welcoming people, not gatekeeping as well. That's such a big thing because running is for everybody. We have walkers, we have adaptive athletes,
Mhm.
and people are scared to start. Because there's people of all ages, shapes, and sizes that are afraid of being judged. But if we all kind of just let your guard down and just join, you could make lifelong friends with people, encourage people, change people's lives. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
sort of back to that negativity bias too, right? We're most likely not being judged. Either we're this
yeah.
person standing next to us is worrying about being judged, right? So if we can,
Hmm.
like you said, let our guard down, we can all belong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then kind of piggybacking on that, because I think sometimes we're surrounded by people that might be negative. I think running again as just a sport is kind of looked as, you know, somewhat of a unusual activity because it's such a painful endurance sport. Um, what kind of strategies would you have if you are, let's say, you're at work and people are like, you're going to damage your knees. Why are you doing this? It's so crazy. Why are you eating chicken and broccoli for lunch every day? Why don't you go out for drinks with us? Um, so you do kind of feel like, someone's actively kind of attacking. Um, how do you overcome those negative individuals?
Mhm. Um, I get called Sober Sally, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Uh,
Oh,
and I'm eating the broccoli and the chicken. I think humor is your best bet, right? And you're leading silently by example. You'd probably be surprised by the people that are egging you on, are sneaking and eating broccoli right behind your back kind of thing, right? Really making some changes. So kudos to you for being an example and being able to take that. I think definitely humor, and then deciding if it's something you want to continue to talk about, or if it's your own path, and you're good with what it is that they have to say. But I think reaching around and patting yourself on the back for being an incredible example when we have so much access to so many other things. And Is it hard on your knees? Maybe it is if you keep doing it, but if you're strength training along with it and you're, doing proper recovery and working on your mobility, it's probably better than sitting at your desk or watching movies. So, yeah.
It's true. What does it mean to be unfragile?
Mm. I think you described it. Um, I don't think there's any real definition, but I think you exactly described it when, after your third time being diagnosed with cancer, you decided you were going to run a marathon. And then after you crawled across the finish line, you decided you were going to run 48 more miles, right? That's unfragile. Um,
Uh, one year
um,
later, I have to say it was 1 year later. I had to give myself a break. Oh, yeah,
um, yeah, so I think it's exactly that, being able to be knocked down and get back up and be knocked down and get back up. And then there's this mentality of all the things that we've talked about, right? That create an awareness and be vulnerable. Um, it started for me, and maybe you've heard the story. My sons being, my daughters are very white and my sons are very dark, and we lived in what we called White Minster, is Westminster, Colorado, and there was a lot of discrimination. I wasn't really prepared for that, and one of the days after one of the boys got called a black monster while playing with
oh,
some
Oh my
kids on a
gosh.
playground, we started talking about, what it meant to be unfragile, and we would tease, like, "You can do anything, you didn't even have shoes, right? You didn't have food, you guys can do anything," and we wrote the word unfragile on a T-shirt that they would wear underneath their
Wow.
oh
sport,
my,
their soccer shirt or whatever, their football, whatever sport they were playing.
yeah,
And then at the end of that event, we would take a marker and I would ask them what did they experience in that event that would make them unfragile? So then maybe they would write on there that they were brave or whatever the words were, and they would, that was where the the thought came from, the Becoming Unfragile book, working on my website, being able to, you do just that, where you can order an unfragile shirt and put your own words on there. Because 'cause I'm sure when you crossed that finish line, you probably had some pretty profound words that you would have liked to have had on
totally.
that unfragile T-shirt. Yeah, yeah. So,
What an incredible family, what an incredible mom you are, incredible
oh.
boys you have. We're gonna be ordering those shirts
Yes.
in support,
Mm. Wow, thank you so much.
and
Yeah.
I'm gonna be wearing that after my marathon in January. I'll be
Yes.
putting my words on there, so
Yeah.
wow.
Well, I can't think of a better person to wear the shirt.
Oh,
So
thank you, Jacqueline.
that would be
Wow,
an honor.
I am so sorry that your boys
Yeah.
endured that.
They're very successful young men now, so they they have fought through it. Think they still feel it, but I think they have
Mm,
the skills to keep fighting.
Yeah.
wow. Your coaching program is incredible. I would love to hear more about that and share that with our listeners.
Well, I started first with an online Unfragile program. You can work with me one on one. I had my own gym for a lot of years, and then I decided to give the military a try, and now I'm doing the professional women's soccer, but I still do my own business on the side. But I got busy, so I decided to film the Unfragile program, and it's a great program. Although I was so nervous, so I'm very stoic in the program, and I'm not sure I look very fun, but um,
We'll hear
but
your fun on here. So.
Yes.
yeah. Um, so, note to self, hopefully I've gotten a little better. But yeah, so the program just takes you through, it was sort of meant to do in 7 days so that
Mhm,
you had something, you listened to the coaching program, you had an activity to do, you listened the next day and have an activity. I
mhm,
think you could do it in 7 days, 7 months, 7 years, however the pace of the program that you wanna do. A lot of the same skills that we talked about here, creativity and, flows in there, but, basically, how is it that we live this life, that there is suffering, but we're not meant to be here to suffer? So how do we find joy in in the failing and the hurt feelings and the disappointment. How do we stay strong through cancer, through losses, or family losses, tragedies, those types of things. When I first did the program, I thought it was going to be for like middle school kids. I thought it was just going to be so dedicated to you understanding that in middle school is such an ugly little time and you're being bullied or you are the bully or whatever. And then I was like, there's no middle school kid that's going to listen to this very stoic, very stiff woman. And then I was like, this program is for anybody who has gone through menopause, right?
Yeah.
Menopause is so miserable. You don't even know what's happening, right? Um, and then, my 93-year-old mother says, how do you get from middle school to menopause? Um, and then I start writing the book, and the publisher wants to know right away, who's your audience?
Mhm,
So we have almost like 6 sessions together, and we're like, okay, no, it's gotta be 30-year-old women who have whatever, right? And by the time after those 6 sessions, they were like, this book is for anybody who
mhm,
just maybe for that second doesn't think that they're good enough, but wants to not feel that way ever again, or like I said, the suffering. So it's a pretty wide audience.
mhm,
Um, I hope, they say that if you're marketing to all, you'll sell to none. I
mhm,
hope that's not the case, because I think there are so many of us that would benefit. I probably wrote the program and the book to save myself.
mhm.
So if that's all I did with the program, then I saved myself, right? But,
Oh.
my mom did promise to buy the book, so at least I have sold one.
Oh my goodness. It's all in the mind and Unfragile. We're definitely be reading it, so both of them,
Huh.
'cause it's
I mean, it's truly universal. I mean,
yeah.
I don't because again, like you were saying earlier, it's not taught. It's not something that's just ingrained in us. We're so focused on the negative. We're so focused on what we
Yeah.
can't do
We slip into the
that,
victim
yeah,
mentality so easily, especially this day and age of social media, it's so easy to kind of feel sorry for ourselves, in comparison to everybody else. Everybody's doing better than us, so this is needed more
Yes.
than ever,
yeah.
because
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
get in our heads about it. We really are tougher than how the world makes us out to be or makes us believe we are.
We're stronger than we think. We're stronger than what we think we are.
Yeah,
Mm,
exactly.
yes, yeah. I'm hoping that it will be a movement, right? That every kid that I ever worked with or touched will, put that shirt on and remember every skill that I taught them. Every adult, every Parkinson's patient, every
Mhm.
MS person that I worked with, all of those people are in every page of that book, right? I learned so much more from the people that I worked with in the military than I've ever learned, or that I've ever spoke to anybody else. So it's accumulation of everybody that I've worked with over the years and what they have taught me.
Wow.
So I'm hoping it's very helpful.
Absolutely. I've learned so much. I know Will's learned so much from this conversation. It's given our listeners so much to think about, and more importantly, so many practical tools that
Yeah.
they can all use right away. So I know I'm walking away from this with so many tools, and I'm so excited to start applying. I have a long run tomorrow, and already I'm can't wait to listen to this back to start using those skills and those strategies. But, before we let you go, can we, ask where we could find more information about Kelly Performance Wellness, more about your personal training, your coaching, your books, the course? Where could folks find you?
Yep, it's all on the website, the kellyperformanceandwellness.com. Links to the program, the book, yep, the coaching, it's just all there. There's some free tidbits there too. I'm in the process of switching over my website, so it hasn't happened yet, but so you can still find it. But stay tuned and there'll be some free things there, little mental skills, survey that you can take and kind of get a score and see how much work you need to do on your
I'll
mental
be taking
skills.
that.
So,
That's
yes.
awesome. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we'll be
Mhm.
listing all this information, and ways to connect with Jacqueline in our show notes as well.
All right. Well, I'll be cheering you along your
Thank
marathon
you.
training, and
Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
that you'll keep in touch and tell me which one of those skills worked for you.
Absolutely, definitely. I
Yeah.
know all of them will
Yes,
for sure, so
especially AC/DC.
Yes.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing, your experience and expertise so generously and giving us, practical ways to think about,
Yes.
resilience, self-talk, performance, and would love to have you back to talk about your next book once you launch that, if you'd be willing to come back.
I would love that.
We're just so happy that you joined us at Wired to Run, so thank
Yes,
you,
All right.
thank you so
Thank you
Jacqueline.
much.
so much. I
Thank
appreciate it so
you.
much.
Wow, what a great episode. So much to think about, so many strategies and skills to apply on our next training runs, next races. I know the wheels are already turning in my head. But thank you all for listening. If you like what you heard, be sure to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, come join us on Instagram at Wired to Run Pod or on Facebook at Wired to Run Podcast, where we keep those conversations going, connect with our listeners and friends. So have a great week, everybody, and lace up, lock in, and let's go the distance. As you all know, we are just here sharing our experiences as ADHD runners. Don't take anything here as medical or mental health advice. Always seek out advice from your own medical and mental health professionals.